that's what your purpose is, you never quit. It always starts with failure and it ends with success. It's multitudes of, L's or losses really are lessons. Those lessons allow you to be sustainable in the future to where if anything occurs in your moment, in your established state, which is where I'm at now, I can get out of any hole that I'm in because I've been through almost all the holes.
So it is safe to say that the failure you experienced when you went to that particular university that took you back home to training with your dad was what gave birth to what we see today.
Yes. So me and my dad coached together. He was very proud of what I did. And then my dad was an athlete himself. So we actually ended up coaching together all the way till the end to about 6 or 7 years ago. My dad had a heart attack. And so we had to kind of take a break from it. And, that's really the reason why I even did this whole track thing. On my first spikes, I wrote on my bottom of my spikes is that, God, please allow me to make my father proud. So I had a selfless concept of why I did the sport. I just wanted to be close to my father. And I wanted my dad made a lot of sacrifices in our lives for me to be successful. And I wanted to give him something that he deserved.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Beyond Finish Line with Star, where athleticism meets inspiration. A safe space where athletes come to share their untold stories, humble beginnings, setbacks, and how they overcame, diving into intersections of sport, lifestyle, and personal growth. And I am your host, Star Ncaa. Today, we are diving into a new series called The Blueprint of Success. And today's guest happens to be a man who has proven that fast on track isn't only the way to leaving a trademark in sports. He is the founder of Fast University. He grew up from a humble background, experienced firsthand what it felt like being overlooked as an athlete. But guess what? He turned all his downtimes into creating a blueprint of long-term development. He is none other than Coach Wales. First thing first, I want to start by I don't, I don't know if I would say I am. I know, like, when I constantly see your post, the first time I came across your page and I looked at everything, I said, oh my God, I need to speak to this man. He is filled with so much wisdom. But the Holy Spirit was, girl, chill, chill. And
Yeah.
when you sent that message and you said, I love what you do, I said, hey.
Yeah. I love what you're doing. I
So
love what you're doing.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Coach Wales. Having
Mhm.
you on Beyond the Finish Line with Star means so much to us and to my community. And
Mhm.
I have taken my time to follow your journey, look at the resources that are online concerning you. And I must say that you are doing a tremendous, will I call it, I wouldn't call it job because it's a calling. So, I mean, what God is doing through you is just simply amazing. And what he is doing through Fast University is one I must say the world needs,
Thank
especially
you.
athletes. But before Fast University, right, I want to know, I know it's out there already, but I really want to know the depth of how all of these things started. Because looking at your World Athletics profile, you were once an athlete yourself. And
Hmm.
I saw a particular interview where you said this fast athletics was bettered out of the fact that athletes are not being given the right training and proper guidance, and you don't want what happened to you growing up as an athlete to repeat itself. So I want to know what really happened. What was childhood for you like? What was just being an athlete before Fast University came into the picture?
Yeah, definitely. I started off, I'm half Korean. I was born in Korea. I came to the United States when I was 8, so I had to learn English. They put me in the ESL classes with the Mexican kids. So it was a challenge to learn the language first and foremost, and then to learn the culture. I started to play sports really late. My mom, once again, is Korean. You being Nigerian, you already know how those kind of parents are. If you're
Okay.
not a doctor, lawyer, or something that makes some good financial money,
I know. Mm.
they're not gonna respect your path. So, I grew up very academic. I went to church almost every other day or almost every single day because we went to a small church. So my
Okay.
mom was a deacon, the treasurer, the janitor. She's everything, right? The chef.
Mm.
So, so I grew up in the church, watched her pray, and got to learn. And I went to Christian school, so I have a very strong relationship with the Lord. And I knew God from an early age. That's the major part of my journey that set me up to get to where I was at. I have a lot of faith in what his purpose in me is. As I came to the United States, I didn't play sports. My dad was a very athletic person, and he was in the military, so I never got a chance to see him because he was always working, always kind of getting off work and tired. So by the time he was about to retire, I was about 14 to 15 years old. I said, "Man, I really don't spend much time with my father, and I'm about to. This is going to be kind of embarrassing because he has a very nerdy son who only gets good grades and doesn't play any sports."
Mm.
So I said, well, I need to try out for sports. So I went out to play football. I believe it was my junior year, and I went out for track. And I actually quit the track. They had us run 500, 400, 300, and that's crazy. That's my first time ever doing it. I was like, this is not what I want to do. So I quit like after like a week. Later on, I came back. I joined it again,
Okay.
and I started getting used to training. I wasn't very good. My first year, I was a junior on JV, but through the grace of God and through me working very hard and diligently, I ended up uh, becoming All-American. I ran 20.9. I was one of the top 15 athletes in the country at the time. And I got recruited by some very, very good schools, University of Oregon, University of Houston, and a few other schools. I ended up choosing University of Houston
Okay.
and I went there. Shout out to Coach Burrell. He was a younger coach at the time. This was his third year.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just be very transparent. He did know technique, and most of the world didn't have a very strong foundation in technical ability. So I understood from me learning how to get faster myself, watching other people run fast, there's certain proclivities and certain things that are common to athletes that are running fast. So I was watching video of the pros. Back in those days, they had VHS. You had to record and press pause, 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 pause. I ended up doing that and learned a lot about technical abilities, learned what a drive phase was. And from that, I had studied the concept of biomechanics and training. And me going to U of H was a negative spot in my mind in a way as far as from training because I didn't do well. I didn't advance. I got hurt and they weren't teaching me technically. So I ended up leaving that school, going back home to Killeen. It was a humbling experience. I
Okay.
had to spend time with my father, and my dad was retraining me again to get ready to transfer. And in that same time, I was able to apply the information that I learned to the younger athletes that I had there. My dad was coaching
Okay.
and I coached my sister's first boyfriend at the time. He ended up winning state. We took him from running 10.4 to 10.2 to 10.0. And then the next year he won the NCAA championship. His name is Jacob Norman. He left our program in December. He went to Baylor and won NCs in February. After that, the year after that, we developed the fastest girl in the world, Tiffany Townsend. She ran 11:21, 22:84 out of high school. And then the year after that, we developed the next fastest girl out of high school, and she actually graduated early and won Mountain West as a high school senior. So, with all that being said, I knew that what we were doing was working. This is before the era of Instagram and social media going viral. So, we weren't being known. I still was looking for a job or a position. I didn't know what my future held. And, me having a Korean mother, she's like, Junior, you need to have a real job. And I was like, this is what I think is my real job. This is what I want to focus on. I believe I can do this and, be great at it. And I didn't want to necessarily be a college coach because they were broke. They weren't getting paid enough.
Okay.
And yeah, so I knew I wanted to work in sports and with high school athletes. I knew that I wanted to work with professional athletes. Nobody had this position that I had. And I seen this post. I was looking for jobs at a certain point, and I saw this post, and it says, um, creating a sports performance facility in Katy. I've always heard of Katy as being a very sports centric environment,
Okay.
a place where they're really good at football. They once stayed, and so I said, you know what, I'm gonna apply for this job. I went over to the guy who's the owner and met with him and had an interview. And, I have an immense amount of information that I've collected from years and years. And I had like stacks of books and I brought it to the table. I said, hey, I just drove in here. This place looks amazing as far as this community. I'm going to tell you about what I do. I'm the best person probably in the world at doing this.
Hmm.
I'm either going to get hired by you or I'm going to move here anywhere and you're going to be competing against me. It's one or the other. You got to make a choice. And then, he ended up giving me a very good offer. I always share this information, hopefully to help other kids understand their value. I told him, I said I would get paid about $70,000 in probably working at Baylor.
Um,
And
we, we
uh,
we need the blueprint. We need the blueprint to that application. It should be
yeah,
sold in cost.
for sure, for sure. So I told him I get paid $70,000 if I went to Baylor, which is not true. And I told him, if you can meet it or match it or get close to it, then, I might be able to work for you. Fast forward, he ended up paying me 60,000. I said, I'll take it. I act like I would have came there for $10,000. I'd have came there for $20,000.
Oh
I ain't never even seen that kind of money before. You know what I'm saying?
man.
So from there, I gave my best. When I say I sacrificed, I didn't see my parents for like 3 or 4 years. I was working so hard. I worked 90 hours a week. I built a business out of it. I developed my name in the community. I worked really hard, tirelessly. I learned about business. I learned about everything, and I was mentored to grow. I learned about marketing. And then from there, we ended up selling that business. From there, I went independent. I created this track club slash training program called Prototype, which was the prototype to Fashion University. I
Okay.
broke tons of records here in Houston. I developed a lot of fast athletes. It was just the beginning of it. And then one year, I ended up looking online. I started studying marketing. I wanted to have a cleaner name. I wanted a name that would last forever. And
Yeah.
I prayed over it. And I ended up went on Instagram and I was like, I want some sort of academy. I want something that deals with speed. I
Okay.
looked it up, found Fashion University was available. The moment I found it, I got on my knees. I thank God. I said, this is the thing that you want from me. This is going to be the biggest thing. This is going to be one of the biggest things in the world. I know it. I can feel it. And then I just started building the brand from there. I started posting online some of the things for my athletes who were out of town
Okay.
to use as cliff notes and, points of relativity so they can train when they're out of town and see I'm coaching them online in a way. So that information that was for the kids that were like going to college or other places and I was training ended up being information for everybody to learn from. So once I see that everybody needed this, I just started providing it to the community. And for me, I saw that so many kids were getting hurt. So many coaches were doing poor jobs of training because this style of information was being gate kept and wasn't being shared. So
Okay.
for me, I grew up very poor, and I was raised in a third world country in Korea, and this gave me an opportunity to be successful. This gave me a opportunity to identify myself and be a leader and to, maximize what God's given me and to really see God work in my life from a reality standpoint by applying work and faith together. So with that, I wanted to share that with the world. And that's what I continue to do now. I continue to share that information. And we made a very good impact with a lot of families. And the reason why I know is that I get to meet these people when I go to track meets. I've
Hmm.
had parents cry to me and say, we couldn't afford college. And without what you've had online for free, my kid would have never made it to school. Thank you. I've had I went to the what's the in what is it? Prefontaine meet with my pro athlete the first year. And the guy that actually does the Prefontaine at the what is the hotel? It's the hotel. He runs all the basically he's the coordinator.
Okay.
And I walked in with Kenny Benderek, Omanyala, all these professional athletes who came off the thing together. And
Okay.
he was like, oh my God, oh my God. So I got my bags. I'm like, oh, you talking about Kenny, you talking about Omanyala, right? And he was like, Pass University. I was like, what? And he was like, you don't understand. Yeah, he was like, you don't understand. Bro, I went to college because of you, bro. Like you blessed my life, man. Like I owe you so much. Like I'm doing this now because you gave me information that allowed me to get to this place.
Okay.
And that's how we got that's where we're at and that's how we got started. And it's just been a beautiful journey for me too.
Okay, so coach, we're going to go back all the way to the
Yeah.
beginning.
Uh-huh.
This particular series is called The Blueprint to Success, and
Okay.
you are the exact model to that word. So we would go back to the very beginning. Now, while you were explaining this, there was a point you said when you went back and you got to that particular school where your performance wasn't coming anymore, and it was like, okay, you know what, I'm going back home to train with my dad. Just to be clear, were you already done with school by then?
No, no, I actually had to leave school. It was very embarrassing. I had to go back to my hometown. People from my hometown don't make it. I was one of the few kids that made it to Division I school.
Okay.
So look, I failed in a way. That was a big failure. It was a humbling moment, and it taught me the best thing, which is, sometimes you rise, and then pride often is the reason why you fall. And I think a lot of times I didn't appreciate the discipline it took to manage schoolwork, to go to sleep, because I had parents who took care of that. And it's partially my fault. It's not just the technique. I wasn't mature. So I
Okay.
had to go back home to readjust myself to become more mature. And then also I had to be challenged to learn technique. So to really master it and to figure this out. So the things that I went through to learn it was many people would have quit from that and I did not quit. And I think that's a part of the blueprint of success is that you never quit if that's what your purpose is. You never quit. It always starts with failure and it ends with success. It's multitudes of, L's or losses really are lessons. Those lessons allow you to be sustainable in the future to where if anything occurs in your moment, in your established state, which is where I'm at now, I can get out of any hole that I'm in because I've been through almost all the holes.
So it is safe to say that the failure you experienced when you went to that particular university that took you back home to training with your dad was what brought or was what gave birth to what we see today. And
Yes.
like you mentioned, you started with training with your dad, then you
hmm
now trained your sister as at then your sister's boyfriend who
hmm
D1 and started running fast. And for you, it was more like I was made for this.
Yes.
And your dad was very much aware why all of this was going on.
Yes. Yeah. So me and my dad coached together. He was very proud of what I did. And then my dad was an athlete himself. So we actually ended up coaching together all the way till the end to maybe about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. My dad had a heart attack. And so we had to kind of take a break from it. And that's really the reason why I even did this whole track thing. On my first spikes, I wrote on my bottom of my spikes is that, God, please allow me to make my father proud. So I had a selfless concept of why I did the sport. I just wanted to be close with my father. And I wanted my dad made a lot of sacrifices in our lives for me to be successful. And I wanted to give him something to be joyous about. I'm his son. So I wanted to have something that he deserved. And, really fast university is also another extension of that as well. I started coaching with my father and now I've grown this brand to help other families as well. And it's been a blessing to him too, because he never would have thought that a lot of the people that he admired from being a coach and athletes now watch me and train with me now. And he's just, it's amazing to be able to give back to my father.
Okay. So now, we talk about athletes of today. You mentioned maturity, which
hmm
was part of one of the reasons why the ordeal you faced while you were in school happened. And now moving into working with your dad and the dream and pathway came into the picture, which you chased, not minding the failures which you had already went through. So if I want, me asking now would be, how did those failures you have already failed? How would you fail and train people into becoming somebody you did not even, you didn't turn out to be? How did that experience, or how were you able to go past that phase? Because you see athletes of today, especially in the D1 circuit, it's either once I come in, I want to run fast and I want to go pro. And when I go pro, I sign the deal and I make the money and that's it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if they end up not going pro, they don't see life outside track. There's
Yeah.
really nothing. It's like the moment you leave track and field, you feel useless. You feel like it's all done. You feel like what. And sometimes it boils down to also management and immaturity, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So now my question is, in all of this process, how did you build that mentality, knowing that, okay, I didn't make it, but I have something. Like you said, you already knew it was a calling for you, and you carried that pain of, because I was unable to get it right, I would
Mm.
help to get it right and get to that point. And you mentioned that you also wanted to make your dad proud, which was your why. So
Hmm.
how did all of this shape you into getting to this point that you are right now?
Yeah. I think many times athletes identify themselves from their sport, may it be track or whatever. And for me, I navigated that. It was a hard journey and it took me time, but I always knew I wanted to coach. I was coaching while I was running fast. I was still coaching. So I was still running and
Okay.
chasing my dream to be fast and to go professional while I was making these other athletes become elite in the world.
While you were running fast, you had a plan outside the fact that you were running.
I did. I knew I always was going to be a coach from the day I started running track. Yeah. So
Even if,
the day I started running track, I knew I was from the very beginning. I knew I was going to be a coach.
okay, now that makes sense.
I yeah, I knew from the very beginning that this is not the end of me. I already knew because I found a lot of satisfaction in seeing other people get what I received, which is the success from the sport and then elevating me and bringing confidence. So what I would always recommend is see yourself outside of your sport. That's the biggest thing. See yourself outside of your
Mm,
sport. I have my own children and I have my own athletes. And I raise my athletes my first questions is, what do you like to do outside of this?
mm,
Some of my athletes love to draw. Some of my athletes like anime. Some of them like playing video games. I'm like, is this something you would do like as a career path? Would you like to do as like this you identify with this as a passion, like no money involved, you would just do it for free for hours, for days, for years consistently. Those things matter to me. And even as I raise my children, I plan to put them in music. I plan to put them in, technology. I plan to put them in different things. Once I start to see at least four things outside of the sports realm that they really lock into, I'm going to keep pouring into those things. And then I'm going to always, instill in them to identify yourself for one by God's purpose in you and what God sees you as, number one. Number two, identify yourself in the passions that you've been given. And
mm,
the passions are multiple passions. Never restrict yourself to one thing and put your whole entire identity into one thing. And that's the same thing for me. Even now, as I become more successful and more notable, I am now reaching back into the things that I love to do since I was younger. I love to draw. I love doing a lot of specific things like music type things. So I add all that into my marketing. I have my own clothing brand. These are some of the clothes that I make. I do so many things that I love to do as a younger child that I identify myself with, and I'm able to apply that into the things now that, that's given me an opportunity. I feel like the gifts that God gives you makes room for you. Usually one of those gifts will create a space to where you can now have the freedom to now maximize the other parts. And I think that's a big key factor is understand what your passions are
mm,
and then really identify yourself for one, like I said, through God's view and God's lens, and then also identify yourself from all your passions, not just one. The track athletes quite often limit themselves as track athletes and not look at themselves as, for one, a business and a brand, and then as a whole person. A lot of these people have great things, and I work with some of the top people in the world, and some of their careers didn't add up to what they felt like should have. But I tell them is that look at how amazing you are as a person. You could help so many people with your story, with who you are as a person. As I got to know you, you changed my life. Why didn't you show the world this over time? Then you would have the access that I carry myself. You know what I mean? Which is, I have access to a lot of different things. And for me, was being very genuine during the journey. I'm extremely transparent. My mom's Korean. I keep always going back to that. Korean people have lack of filter. We don't have much filter. You know what I mean? So I'm very direct, and people got to watch me from when I was financially unstable, when I started this program,
Yeah.
to me being able to help bring financial freedom to the people that work with me. You know what I mean? That's that journey was always open. I lived in an apartment, didn't have a car. Now I'm married and I have homes. You know what I mean? Like it's just a journey to be able to be transparent and allow yourself to be vulnerable. Really, for one, allows God to be seen in your journey. Throughout that was faith in God and to be able to understand that He was going to navigate me through. And then knowing that if He has it as a calling for you, no man can take it from you. And that's the thing that I stood on. And then me being able to identify myself as more than what people see me as, which is sports, more than just track. I work with NFL teams, I work with NBA teams.
Mm.
Like I do clothing, I do music, I do a lot of different things, so that's a big thing. I believe that, having a diversified identification, that's a big thing.
Okay, so let's move to the global perspective of all of this. In a
Mhm.
specific or in a particular interview, you spoke about the Jamaicans, the Germans, people from other countries, and how their coaching system is, and how you
Yes.
see these athletes stay back in their country after high school. They go pro. Some persons go pro directly. Some persons, even while they are in school, they still, stay back and run. And when we now talk about the US system, it looks like when you come over here into the NCAAs, after school, some of these athletes really have nothing to offer again, because it's like every single thing in the system has been out. And now my question is, how has Fast University been able to manage that particular challenge in the US system? And also, I want to believe that what you do now is global. I mean, I have seen a few clips here and there, and I know. How has Fast University been able to make an impact in the NCAA field, right? And also in the global system, making the few changes that needs to be done? Because, one thing about the United States is people tend to say they have everything they need. They have the facilities, and that is why everybody is coming down here. But
Mm,
training over there is more of, I would say, training, being a Nigerian, I would say training
mm.
in the United States is practical compared to training in Nigeria. Nigeria is pure, there's no enjoyment to it. When you're done training, you're asking the Lord, I hope I don't die out of hunger. And it's, you hear you step into the weight room, into
Uh-huh.
the sledge and all of that. Their sledge
Uh-huh.
tires.
Oh, wow, wow. The struggle, oh.
And but you see these athletes from these countries, they come
Mhm.
United States, and you are amazed at what happens in the space of 1 year, 2 years.
Yes.
Gradually, the NCAA now is shifting from, oh, come in, let me train you and enhance the gifts that you have. It's not like, okay, you already need to have this time before you can come,
Yeah.
right? So how would you say Fast University has closed that bridge between
Yeah.
the global
Y-
citizens, I mean, the people outside United States,
yes.
understanding that it does not necessarily have to be an already made athlete for you to,
Yeah.
because it's like right now they're looking for, if as a
I-
recruiter,
I-
if
Yeah,
I'm
they want the fastest. Yeah, they want the best.
10-2, nobody wants to say a word.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. So we bridge the gap. So we have German athletes. We work with national countries. So we have currently Shay. And we have a few other UK athletes that are going to be flying in. Shay's here for 3 months. We've had German athletes for the last 5 years. We work with the national team. So they'll actually fly in. Our athlete, Robin, actually won German nationals. So indoors, 60 in the 200.
Please encourage
Um,
Nigerians. You need them. You need them on your team. You need Nigerians on your team.
Yeah, I got one. I got one. I've got one. Yeah,
Okay.
I've got one. Yeah, she's young and she's developing, but she's, like I said, that's the same thing you're saying.
Mm,
So I have athletes who are developing. We have really fast high school athletes. So some of our girls run like 11.3, 23 lows and stuff like that.
mm,
So these are young girls that are running faster than some pros and some collegiates, right, from other countries. So we actually have a gap. We bridged the gap and we created it, and we actually made our program smaller recently. We don't even train many of our local high school athletes because, it speaks to a bigger problem. And I think that's where I need to speak to first before I talk about what we're doing, right?
okay.
So the economy of track and field is in a very, very transitional period at the moment. Um, Most individuals didn't think there was a financial ability to create careers for athletes and coaches.
Okay.
And people don't understand that track and field is actually monopolized by the individuals who own it, which is the shoe companies, the people that own the stadiums, as well as the elite coaches that are like paid by the shoe companies. So
Okay.
this is it's a style of economy. We and the college system is actually part of it. So the college system actually has pro coaches where they have their college coaches, but they train professionals on the side.
Mhm.
This whole system is not positive for the athlete looking to make money, looking to be successful. And I'm going to give a very straightforward answer to this that has to deal with numbers, not personal opinion.
Okay.
So whenever you're in high school, you're running at max, maybe 30, 40 races total in a season. You go to college, immediately you're running 80 races in a season. Times that by 4 seasons, that tells you how much they're running. They're running almost 400 races. By the time they get done with the NCAA, they have no more a success or anything type of bandwidth within them. All the all the tread is off the tire. Their
Yeah.
best years was ran in college. Also, the college system is not as technical and specific to the individual. They find really good talent and they make themselves look good by, it's pure attrition. I recruit 10 kids, 3 kids do well. I look like a champion because 2 of those kids became NCAA champion. If I end up getting a Grant Holloway out of high school, I mean, I'm going to look like a good athlete too. If I end up getting a Feely out of high school, I'm going to look like a good coach too. If I end up getting Tate Taylor, which is one of our athletes we work with, out of high school, he already runs 992. I'm
Mm.
going to look good. If I end up getting Jelani Watkins, I'm going to end up looking like I coach well. When in actuality, Jelani already ran 10 flat out of high school. You know what I mean? He only ran 10 flat in college. I'm not knocking the school that they go to. It's just, it's across the board. And so these people have been making a name off of the success of talent, not the success of pure coaching. Now, when you see really good pure coaching, it comes from people, and I'm going to give a couple of shout outs because I like to. I'm very transparent. People like Joel Brown from Ohio State.
Yeah.
He's taken a Navy battle and made her from a 24 runner to a 21 runner. People like Gabe Mumaver, formerly of LSU. He's a coach at Washington State, now at Arizona. He's taking kids that ran 10.4 and made them 10.1 and 9.8 guys now with Louis Hinchcliffe. Louis actually started at Washington State and ran 10.1 and then went to U of H. You see what I'm saying? It's the development process. So for us, we see the other foreign countries like Germany and the UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, people like that. They see athletes at a young age. They have this talent, and then they give them access to a coach like us, a fast university style coach. So
Okay.
then from a very young age, they get technical coaching. And then from a very young age, they get sponsorship from their clubs. They have clubs in these different countries. These clubs will pay for them to come fly out to Fashion University during the wintertime to come train, and then they'll fly them back home to go compete. So they're getting built into by a village and poured into.
Okay.
So they find the talent, they nurture the talent. These kids never run college. They never go to college as far as like for running. They go to college for academics. And this is another thing that you see, these same kids end up being engineers at the same time while they're Olympic champions or European champions. is because they have that identification of I have to get an education. Running is a part of what I do, but this running is actually a business too. So I actually get to get paid to do some of this and get supported to do this and travel while still getting my education. You see what I mean? So instead of actually going to college and being used by a school to make a coach get paid, the college coach get paid and keep her job or his job, their whole incentive is we need to make the country look better. So the country starts to sponsor and fund and provide, benefits for that. And so for Fast University, what we've done is how we navigated. I'll use Tate Taylor as an example. Tate Taylor is being, sought after by Nike and Puma and all these different shoe companies on running and things of that nature. And we help them navigate understanding their value, understanding, should I go to college or not? Which college should I go to? Why it's not beneficial? Is it beneficial? Things of that nature. Also creating branding. Most track and field athletes don't understand why the sport isn't across the board is because they're too busy training, too busy running, and not building relativity to a market. When you have relativity to a market, that allows you to sell things, may it be clothes, may it be food, may it be family, whatever you're selling. People want to align themselves with your brand because you hold a market within your brand, meaning people who watch you and are on your pages and support you will buy from you if you support their brand. So these things are not available or taught to until really recently, and that's part of the reason why Grand Slam failed. I mean, Grand Slam, I knew it was going to fail from the very beginning. It's because of they are bringing the old regime, the same people who ran the track meets before and ran the economy before were invited to Grand Slam, and they were going to so-called pay out these athletes for a high amount. But why are you paying them so much when they can't sell anything, when you don't get any views, when you don't have that type of leverage?
Well, he
And
he said he had investors. It's just that they bailed along along the line. So
no, 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 I hear that, but I'll give you an example. I'm a numbers person.
okay.
So we do about 10 million views a month. They were only doing 11 million views or 17 million views. I'm one person. I don't have investors. I'm investing in me. It's just me and my team. So for me to do though, I'm doing what Grand Slam is doing by myself. Hell, they could have paid me a little bit of money and they could have saved $1 million. I mean, I'm just
You know why I said it from the start? Your is this whole thing, it needs to be sold. It needs to be sold. And please gladly market it.
we'll
I
talk.
want
We'll talk off. We'll talk offline. No, but seriously, from a business sense, track and field is eons behind of all the other sports. If you have views, and I'm gonna use Lolo Jones as an example. Lolo has won nothing, period, in track and field. Lolo is a multimillionaire. Now, Lolo has views. Lolo's still relative. The reason why Lolo was very transparent about her journey with God, her journey in track, her journey with bobsled. Lolo has the persona. It has a lot of different things that work in her favor. She created a brand outside of the sport. No matter what Lolo does, she's gonna have some traction.
and show
And
it.
that's the same. Yeah, and that's the same thing with the sport here. It could be done better. Is becoming better, but if you have the same individuals who benefit by monopolizing and limiting athletes and coaches and limiting them and trying to control the system, then it doesn't allow for, growth for the sport. Plus, the sport is only big to track people, and then track people come back and they're being disgenuine about how to approach the sport. Like you, that's why I love what you're doing. You're very genuine. You've hit topics that people don't want to hit. You hit pain points in the sport, um, really negative things, almost in a way. You know what I mean? That needs to be heard to protect our people, to protect our sport, to protect our women specifically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are the type of people that our sport need. But what we end up getting is these ex-champions creating podcasts and talking drama or just using other athletes from the former athletes of the past using athletes now just to get their YouTube bigger, just to make themselves still relative to the present sport. And they're just using it for their own good. They're not providing back to the community. They're not trying to help our sport from a genuine place. And that's the problem. When you have a style of sport that raises these type of athletes up, they end up continuing that type of selfishness, that type of lack of community. Our sport is very volatile. It's a crab in the bucket sport. I gotta beat them to win. Whereas for me, not coming from this sport,
Okay.
this sport gave so much to me that I feel indebted to the sport, where I gave back to the sport, and I'm continuing to give back to the community. Plus, it built such a large family for us and my family and my own family that it's priceless to me what track and field can do for a community and a family. So that's why I'm in love with it. I absolutely am not in love with the economy, and therefore,
Well,
yeah.
the
Mhm.
figures are counting. Talking about the
Mhm.
business aspect of track and field, right? I had
Mhm.
a guest who said having the NIL deal right
Mm.
now in sport has turned track and field or Olympic sport into semi-pro sports, right?
Yeah, it is.
I would say mention you have I saw a particular interview where you also talked about the NIL deal and the changes it has brought to athletes. But if I backtrack to our earlier conversation when you talked about maturity, and
Mm.
maturity still boils down to how these funds and finances are being spent. Because it's like you see these athletes, they get these NIL deals, but at the end of the day, sometimes there's really nothing to show for it. So my question is, what are the biggest opportunities you see, and what are also the dangers for young athletes to, step out of? When these NIL deals comes up, what would you advise that they focus more on? Because it's like you pick a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18, 19 who has not even experienced life, and you pump them all in with money, right? So now what is in their head is, the faster I run, the more money I get, the more deals, I become famous, and it's like they just living life. And for me, funds that you don't work, it's not like they don't work for it. They work for it, but
Yeah.
it can't be compared to somebody who stood 12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. I
It
think
can
I
never
think the answer.
happen because
Yeah.
it's like, I need to get this, I need to get
Yeah.
that. So what would be your advice? Or before the advice, what do you even think about the NIL deal?
So for one, I knew NIL was coming out before most people, and that's why my brand exploded very quickly. I
I,
also do NIL education for colleges, so I actually partner with Advanced NIL, one of the number one NIL education companies in the world. They actually been on NBC and all that. So I actually partner with them to teach whole entire athletic program, not just track, on how to handle the environment. Also, our athletes specifically get paid some of the highest NILs because I'm a media company, distribution. People see me, they see my athletes become famous immediately. So one of my athletes gets paid, she's anywhere between 80 to $100,000 right now in college on top of her scholarship.
Coach, I'm giving you a business plan. Sell this. Sell.
Well, look, I can't give it all for free, but I on your on this because I like you, I'm sharing it on your platform. Is this? I'm gonna use Quincy Wilson as an example. I'm
Okay.
very direct. I like to be direct, and I don't mind being shocking, provocative. It doesn't matter to me. I like to be correct and direct. So the way that they're doing people like Quincy Wilson, people like the fast young kids that can get out of NIL, they're usually, and this is the old economy, like I told you, that kid is worth millions, but they're gonna pay him hundreds of thousands a year. His deal is basically gonna be lower than what he's expected because he's never seen this money, nor have his parents. So if you tell them I'm gonna pay your child a quarter of a million a year, they're ecstatic, but they don't really understand he's actually worth a multi-million deal, and I would renegotiate it at 2027, right before that Olympic year. That would be the main thing. And then what I would advise kids is, and athletes and parents, is that look at your kid as a brand bigger than the sport.
Hmm.
Make your kid a brand bigger than the sport, and then know your value. That's the main thing. Most people don't know their value, so they're willing to take any certain type of money if it looks like a lot of money to them, not knowing you signed a 5-year deal. And I'm gonna be honest with you, look at all these kids who signed out of high school. They're signing deals beyond the Olympic time. And those deals are usually small. I mean, anywhere from like 70,000 a year, 100,000 a year, 150 a year. Whereas I'm gonna use Candace Hill as an example. Candace Hill from high school, 17 years old, ran 10.9. Her base salary was 300,000. She's ran for 10 years. That's $3 million. Does that make sense? That's smart, right? Because you sign a deal that goes that long, and then you're guaranteed to have a long career, and then you have a base salary you can always live off of. That's smart. No matter how you run, if you ran good or bad, you're paid more than you ever would have been doing a regular job. That's smart. I can almost guarantee you Quincy Wilson ain't got that kind of contract right now. I can guarantee you that I can tell you what Tay Taylor's being offered and people like that. They're not getting offered that because they don't know no better and they don't have people like me saying this. Like, you're worth more than that, especially right at 2027, the year before the Olympics. You can negotiate for well over $500,000 to $1 million probably if you steal fast. Now, if you starting to become moderate, then you might have want to sign that deal or something, or structure your deal to where there's a renegotiation period to where they have the first right of refusal, meaning in 2027, you have an option to decrease me if I don't meet these markers, or you would have to increase me
If I
if I have another deal. Do you have to match that deal?
okay,
See, these are conversations. This is business conversation. This is more than just say, oh, work on your brand general. This is not general. This is business. This is understanding contract, understanding negotiations, leveraging, and also understanding marketing and branding. Like, what makes you worth this much? You can run fast all you want. Do you know how many fast people we done seen at the Olympics? Ain't none of them got really a lot of money. You know what I mean? And that's the point. Fast don't make you money. There's a girl, I'm going to use her as an example. I believe she's German. She runs the 400 and I think no faster than 52. I don't even think she even made it to this world championship. She's make millions. She's sponsored by Hugo Boss. Go follow her page. She has 5.3 million followers. The reason why is she's a beautiful young lady, beautiful, physically appealing, and she has a model look. So she actually models for Hugo Boss, and they sponsor the track athletes. She makes millions driving supercars, and that's what I always want to speak to people about. We love track. We love running. We love competing. Wouldn't it be great just to compete for the love of it? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? I don't have to run to keep my lights on. I could just train with just to train to get faster every year. You probably can run faster that way than having to run so many meets just to make $2,000 or $3,000. I got to go to Monaco. I got to go here. I got to go there to make this little bit of money. And then that burns me out. Where I probably could only have ran maybe, let's just say 4 times that year. I could run faster, run longer, and have a longer career instead of running myself to death just to make the bills paid. And I always give this great example. You go to the Super Bowl, two different quarterbacks. One loses, one wins. I can guarantee you the quarterback that lost is hopping on a private jet, not crying, going into a mansion, out of a Land Rover, taking his kids to the Bahamas, and they're going to go chill for 2 or 3 weeks. They're not crying. That finances makes it a lot easier to compete in your sport because now you can come back and be fine, and that's the point. Understand business, understanding economy, understand wealth management, understand principles as well. Like, what are your principles? What are your values? And are those values shareable and attachable to other companies that would honor my value? And that's a key thing. And that's what that, like I said, back to Grand Slam. That was the problem with Grand Slam. You just can't throw money around. You stole money from investors who don't know track, obviously, and they thought that, oh, if I throw money at it, this is gonna make us money.
they would
How
generally
are you how are you gonna make money by paying somebody else more money? That doesn't make us more money.
sell anything to get the income. So,
What are you selling? Yes. What
uh,
are you selling? And what are you selling? Like,
for investment.
yeah. You know what would have been good? It would have been good to like get streamers. If they'd have had Kai Sanan, or if they'd have got ISO Speed, have him race a few people, and it wouldn't even cost much. We didn't even need a stadium. We could have just raced at a regular venue at somebody's track, and that would have did crazy numbers. It would have been less overhead. But people don't see it that way. People have grandiose ideals. I want to create a league. I want to create these things, and they haven't really recognized you haven't created a business yet. You haven't created viewership yet. You haven't built a fan base or a community yet. And now you want to do all these things where nobody cares about.
Okay, so this advice you have dished out now would be for people who already have these times. Now, for athletes who do not have the times, who are
Hmm.
in smaller schools but they are not in the power fives, the sets.
Hmm.
They're just in like regular small schools. But I mean, they are hoping to, because in like where I am now, I'm in Illinois State, and sometimes an athlete runs fast. My coach trained an athlete from 11.7 to 11.3,
Hmm.
right? And it came down to the point where schools wanted her, but she wants to stay with the person who got her to this point. But now the question
Yes.
is, where I am, what exactly am I going to do to, get into these NIL deals? Because the NIL deal itself, it's called name, image, and likeness, but it's looking more of times, 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 times. When you have the times, we come for you. If you don't have the times, we have nothing to offer you. I completely understand that they also want to generate income. We need to see what you have to offer to us for us to come to you and offer you what we have. But now my question is, cases where these athletes probably don't have the time, or maybe have the time but not in the
Yeah.
Power Five schools, what do they do?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's about time. It has to do with your numbers. So, what numbers do you put out online, basically? So, like I said, we do 10 million views on average. We reach over a couple million accounts. I mean, I have deals. I have many deals, and that those deals don't come. I don't run no times. You know what I mean? And same thing for the athletes that we work with. Some of our athletes are injured the whole year. They came to college, got injured. They still got NIL deals. It's
So,
because the numbers that their videos carry. You got to look at it this way. You are a person. If you line with my brand and promote my brand to your market and it reaches other markets, my stuff sells. I know that. Like I work with, I'm gonna plug something real quick. 1080. I work with 1080.
okay.
I'm definitely a part of their organization. I'm part of their economy. It's one of the deals that I carry. Since I became a part of that, their views is skyrocketed. They sold many equipments. They've made millions off of the fact that I'm a part of their business, and that's the concept. How can they make money with you being a part of it? Are you seen? Are you visible? There's a kid here in Houston. His name is Braylon Bird. This kid ain't, he got six in the state of Texas. My kid beat him and a whole bunch of other kids beat him. This kid has the biggest following out of all those kids. And those kids are the fastest kids ever to exist, some of them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So me as a me selling shirts, I'm gonna put him in a shirt before I put the fastest kid. This fast kid don't sell nothing. And that's why I try to tell people with track and field. People don't even know what fast is. I'm telling you, they don't know what fast is. You look, the fact that they think I Show Speed can race against track guys and win lets you know they don't have no respect to what fast is. So you're expecting people. I'll give you an example. UFC. You remember UFC back in the day? I was older. When UFC first came out, they were just beating people up. It was bloody and nobody wanted to see it, right?
Yes.
Fast forward, UFC is the number one thing out there in the world. And
I don't mind.
but let me explain to you why though. The
Okay.
story behind UFC, knowing the fighters, teaching the art, and that's what I've been doing. I've been preparing the population to respect fast. They don't know fast because they don't know what goes into fast. But if you keep teaching people that, oh, they have to do technique, they have to train like this. Shoot, they do this every day. Like this, they work on this like choreography. They just thought that this dude fast, that dude fast. They run on a line, that whoever hit the line, well, you ain't running faster than Usain Bolt. They don't even know how fast Usain Bolt ran. Like they don't know what that means. They don't know what it means. They have no relativity. Just as it's like a UFC, it looked like they were just beating people up in a ring. But when you watch it, you're like, oh, they're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're doing, ground game. They're doing submission, wrestling background, striking background. It's an art. My daughter's going to be doing Jiu-Jitsu because of this. I
Okay.
mean, I'm serious. Uh,
Okay.
but but you see what I mean though? Like there's the business of track and field really doesn't acknowledge and athletes and saying that you run fast makes you money. That's not true. There's so many fast athletes here who are just dying to get a contract, dying to get an NIL. And I'll be honest with you, I have businesses. I would not NIL anybody fast right now. I don't want them. They can't sell anything for me. Like, because they're fast don't mean this shirt gonna sell. You know what I mean? Like, nah, if they got style. Oh yeah. and they speak well, you know what I mean? And they post a lot. Yeah, yeah, and they represent God.
Clap.
Okay, well look, let me get you this shirt. Yeah, let me get you a shirt. Let me put some money in your pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
no,
I have a
you feel what I'm saying?
I have a few for you. After this podcast, we need to talk. Okay,
So,
I get the angle where you're coming from. The numbers
mhm.
really tell a lot. So apparently, it is for the athletes to put in the work, understand what it is for them, and like you said in the beginning, when you do what you do, always remember that it is not just all about the track. You know, outside the track, what else do you do? What else can you? If you take the track out of it, where would you find yourself and say, oh, I think I'm good at this and I can generate funds from this? Or I know while in the course of our conversation, you've mentioned family, you know, being married, having your own kids, and also the athletes you coach and train, you now see them as family. I mean, that's what they are. And I'm sure you also see the younger ones too as your kids. So my question is, how has fatherhood shaped the coach wheels of today? Are there times when you train an athlete and they don't meet up to that expectation that you have, you know, you've had in your head for them? How did you deal with moments like that? And like I said, how has fatherhood shaped you? Being you are a coach, you are a mentor, you are a businessman, you are an amazing husband, you are an amazing father. It's not easy putting all of this together and still succeeding. So how has it been? How has all of this shaped you into who you are today?
Yeah, I think creating uh creating the business around family is what allowed us to be successful. All of my kids, all my business partners are Uncle Marlon, Uncle Greg. They're all the uncles to my kids. Coach Greg, which is the founder of my youth program, is one of my former athletes. He married one of my former athletes. They are the godfather and the godmother of my kids. So yeah, it's a big full circle thing. I hire my athletes, so I have my own clothing brand. And one of my Canadian athletes who flew in to live here to train with us, she's actually, one of my first primary uh, managers slash directors of things in my business for that. And same thing for other athletes. I have pro athletes who are now retiring and they are an extension of what we do. And if ever we need help with clinics or if ever I need them to be able to bring their skill sets to the table, they'll come back and add it to what we're doing. And same thing with our collegiate athletes. Our kids that graduate from this program, they come back every summer and usually the holidays to come train back here again and they just pour back into our youth and explain to them and teach them how to navigate the future that they're walking into. So for me, being a father, being a husband, and all these different hats that I wear has been a pretty easy way of approaching things. And then also having that family aspect and making a deeper relationship allows us to gain more from the sport and gain more from our athletes. Because when I speak to them, they know it's from a place of love.
Mm,
When I speak to them, they know it's a place of care and protection. It's never a place of judgment of harming them or things of that nature or just, being rash or being transactional. It's not very transactional. For us, this business is not necessarily business to us anymore.
yeah.
We've created finances that makes us autonomous to where we
Mm,
don't need these funds. These funds are just it's just a mandatory thing of business. You know what I mean? So it's more or less when you come here, we chose you. You
mm,
chose us. God had aligned us. So
mm.
we walk in that same way.
Okay.
So we lead with him. We lead with the concept of what's more than this. For me, the biggest thing that I've ever received, one of the greatest things I've ever received from this business is having Coach Greg and Coach Cheyenne be the godfather, the godmother of my children. They train my kids now and they coach my kids now. And the thing that I developed is passed along through the kids that I developed. So when I can't do the drills like that or whatever, I'm not able to do it. There's somebody here that I've trained to do it that can do it.
Mm.
And plus, I trust these folks.
That's amazing. Before I ask my last question, I said I
Hmm.
was going to ask you this. I saw one of your videos where you were having it was a baptism. Now the
Yeah.
person who baptized you looked exactly like the physio
Yeah, he is our physio.
Okay. I was going to ask.
That's what I'm saying. Our whole community is like is that we go to church together, we go to weddings together, and we go to funerals together. This is a family.
You have built a community, coach. You have
Yes,
built.
for sure. That's
Okay.
God. That's definitely God. I can't claim it.
Final words. Now,
Mhm.
if you could talk to your younger self and you looking back to everything that has how you built, how you grew, how Fast University came into reality, and looking at these young athletes of today who probably haven't ran those fast times, what would you say to them?
Believe in yourself. Never give up on your dream. Take the time to make yourself better as a person, and that alone will start to change the habits and the results that you're looking for. Once you can get yourself as a person to become a lot cleaner, meaning from a health, mental, physical space, and then being able to hold yourself accountable to a standard outside of just a sport will allow you to transcend the sport and allow you to be able to rise. The people that are the greatest in the sport carry qualities that are characteristics that'll make them successful in life. So that's the big thing, I think, is get yourself together as a person, not just yourself as an athlete.
Okay. One more question.
Hmm.
Outside the scholarships, outside the achievements, outside track, outside the medals and everything that comes with it, what would be that ultimate impact for you coming through Fast University? What would be that ultimate impact?
I think the ultimate impact is to be able to represent what it looks like to have faith. God gave me this opportunity, and for me to be able to represent that to my wife, to my daughters, to my sons, as well as other people in the world, I think that's the ultimate impact for me, is that I shouldn't be here. I'm not in this position because I'm really great at things, and it's because I believed what God showed me, and I followed and I obeyed, and God took the time to give me grace to get to this space. So I think that's the biggest impact I've carried, and I just now recent realized it, through showing more of my faith to the people online. They've quite literally just told me, was like, man, didn't know you walk like this and this is the walk that you were going through. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it took a lot for me to get here,
Right.
but every single fall and failure, he was there for me. And I have faith in the fact that I would get here. It wasn't a question of if, it was when I was going to obey. It was when I was going to be adherent to what he wanted me to do before he can get me in this position.
Obedience.
Yes.
Coach Wills, it has been this episode can be sold. This episode, this episode is a blueprint. This episode, I would personally watch it over and over again. And
Yeah, yeah.
I want to say a big thank you. You have
No
not
problem.
created um, a community, you have not only created a program, but you have been able to give back to the society. You just, everything we've talked about, how Fast University has been able to create jobs, which I'm still going to come to your DM for,
Yeah.
and has been able to not just nurture talent, but teach people faith, teach people discipline, teach people maturity, speak the truth, and also bringing them to that part, that aspect of you might not be from this part of the world, but you can be from anywhere and still make it, just as long as there's an obedience attached to it and you understand that there is a calling over your head. And if you
Yeah.
can simply obey and just trust and just
Yes.
look on and not, look at, because sometimes we look at what we have at that point in time. It's like God is saying, just go ahead. And you're like, I don't think I have the resources for this. I don't think I have the
Hmm.
and but I mean, you're not God. You are not the one who put that calling upon yourself. And
Hmm.
I say a big thank you. We all are inspired. We see what you do and we love it. We learn. We might not be in fact right now. Right now, I'm a fan.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, that's an it, period.
Yeah, yeah, welcome, welcome.
I want to say a big thank you and to my wonderful viewers. This particular episode, like I said, is a blueprint. Like they would say, chef kiss. That is what
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I would advise you to keep it. Repetition brings an lasting impression. You want to hear this over and over again. If you feel like it is over, maybe you are a school dropout or the times are incoming, looking at Coach Rios, he is the blueprint to success. His story is, he's not somebody who was successful or came from a rich or a very flamboyant background and he just, walked his way up through he walked his way up from the scratch through obedience and understanding the calling over his life. And he chose to submit to what God has called him to do. And he has expanded. At this point, he's Abraham, father of all nations. This one is father of fast. Until the end of this exciting episode, I still remain your host, Mpama. Until we meet again, be good, stay safe, and bye for now.